This has been a long time coming for the channel. Capacities is a note-taking app which seems to meld features of Notion and Anytype in a very unique way, and it's also been on the market for a similar amount of time. The apps might share surface-level similarities, but there's a lot of functional differences which set them apart. I recently tried out Capacities for the first time in a while, and I was very impressed with what I found. Thus, I think it's time to give you a comparison of the two. I'm going to be pitting the two head-to-head in 5 categories: visuals, simplicity, versatility, depth, and customizability. These are all areas that I think are important, since both apps are focused around building your own workflow, so these kind of features are what really contribute to an app being useful. Number 1. Visuals. Now, I know that visuals are somewhat subjective, but I feel like I have to give this one immediately to Anytype. Capacities can do a lot, more on this later, but Anytype has a distinctive and complete visual style. It's not personally my favorite, but you can't deny that Anytype feels like it's been more thought through. This may be due to the intense scrutiny which the Anytype community feedback page gives, but there's consideration to each and every aspect of the experience in this app. Colors, rounded corners, there's just this complete feel. Capacities doesn't have this as dialed in. They have a color style with white and the blue highlights, but it just doesn't come close to Anytype's polish. However, Capacities does have a lot more to work with, so that's why I don't hold this too harshly against it. Anytype tries to be simple, and that's why it comes out on top here. Number 2, simplicity. Given my last statement, you may think that this is the time to use the arrow keys and just skip ahead to number 3. However, I don't think that Anytype deserves to win a point here. My reasoning? I said that Anytype tries to be simple, but I think it fails. It relies heavily on terminology, and underneath the surface paint are complicated rules that connect your notes together. Sets versus collections, how many relations show up in your notes, the variety of embeds, it all adds up to be a rather overwhelming experience. I'm sure the developers and hardcore users have it all down, but I find it rather intimidating every time I open the app. With Capacities, I went in blind. I never tried this app seriously before, so I was prepared to be confused and turned off by some of the complex features. Yet after the initial learning curve, it felt easy. Relations, which Capacity calls properties, are stored by type. Sets, which Capacities confusingly calls collections, are just ways to organize objects of the same type. All of the objects for a type are in one place, as opposed to being scattered through the library, main menu, and object menu. While Anytype looks simple, I think that Capacities wins the point for being the simple app out of the two. Number 3, versatility. By this, I mean the variety of ways and settings that the app can be used in. Both Anytype and Capacity have desktop apps and mobile apps. The mobile versions are watered down, but they both achieve similar things. Technically, Anytype has a lock screen widget on iOS and maybe Android. I'm just not an Android user, but this widget is pretty useless. It makes you log in and then just opens up the new object menu, a menu that's fast enough to get through the main app anyhow without opening it up in the widget. Capacities has no widget, but that doesn't really set them back much. Now, Anytype does have an iPad app, which Capacities has in the works. I believe if you were one of their beta software testers, their Capacities believers or something, you get access to the iPad app, but Capacities can be opened through the browser, which Anytype can't. Because you can log in through the iPad browser, as well as the browser of a hotel computer or something, Capacities has to be more versatile. Anytype just feels like an app. It's made for a purpose, but only in controlled settings. Capacities seems more like a regular notes app. It can just go more places. Anytype is locked into this passphrase nonsense and can only go where the developers want it to go, and that just sets it back. Capacity wins this round. Number 4, depth. Now, by depth, I mean the app's ability to do complex actions. Tools like Obsidian or Notion would have high depth given the number of plugins or database options available. Apple Notes, on the other hand, would have low depth. It can do a few things, but it won't surprise you with some undiscovered talent. Now, I don't feel like I've used either app enough to be able to vouch for a clear winner, but my intuition is going towards Anytype on this one. Capacities has a lot of potential, but it's further behind in the development cycle. With Anytype, there's potential for crazy connections like using shared relations or linking object types. Because Capacities doesn't have so many opportunities for linking like this, there's a lot less potential for deep workflows. Now, I don't think this is necessarily a bad thing. I gave it the point for simplicity after all, but if I needed to make a complex system, Anytype would be where I'd turn first. Number 5, customizability. Both Anytype and Capacities are apps in the style of Notion. They want you to make your own workspace. Notion, if nothing else, is king of customizability. Anytype, being more watered down when you first load in, has the appearance that could be mistaken as a blank slate. The only problem is that slate stays pretty blank. Anytype's strength is in the back end of relations and object types. The page design is pretty limited. Now, Capacities is more set in stone from the beginning. You're forced to use this calendar and daily note view, different file exploring panes are locked in set places around the window, and there's an overall rigidity to the system. But Capacities has something that Anytype doesn't. Its customization is useful. In Capacities, you have more useful page layout options, and you get tools to change everything about your objects all in one place. And maybe I'll be hated by the Anytype fans for saying this, but I don't like that relations are connected in Anytype. I like that Capacities lets me put this data into my objects, but I don't have to worry about it carrying over to my other objects. Sure, I can link notes using it, but I don't have to. In Anytype, every little thing you do feels like it's carrying 3 other things you don't want it to do. Capacities is simple and just lets you design how you want it to be. Now, to be fair, this is very subjective, which is why I saved it for last. I think Capacities wins this point, and thus they win the comparison. But I could see people who want a more linked notes app preferring Anytype, and that's entirely legitimate. I just find Capacities to be a better experience for the regular user. And now that Capacities has a real offline mode, I think competition between it and Anytype will be heating up a little, so I think comparison like this is really important. Both of these apps have a decent following, and now it's time for them to reckon with each other. Whoever comes out on top has the chance to challenge Notion, so whatever happens in the next few years is really going to be important for the outlook of productivity apps. Anyhow, let me know what you think about these 2 great apps. I'm pretty new to Capacities, so any input from long-term users is very welcome. Otherwise, have a great day, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye!